Welcome to Biz Bites, brought to you by Com Together, helping businesses like yours build their brand through telling amazing stories to engage and grow audiences on multiple platforms. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Biz Bites. And I have a really fascinating guest with me today, Simone, who's going to introduce herself in a moment. We've got to know each other over the past year a little bit in participating in some forums that I run. And her views are always really interesting, and she brings a lot of business acumen to it from a different perspective. So I'm going to let Simone, you want to introduce yourself and what your business actually does.
Thanks, Anthony. My name is Simone Pentis. I am the founder and managing director of Advantage Partners Lawyers, which I founded over 15 years ago now. We only do business law, focusing on business setups, shareholder arrangements, contracts, the dealings that you have in business, as well as a particular specialty in intellectual property and franchising. Now, for me, the big thing that underlies everything I do is I love being a part of creating something. So that's where our firm sort of focuses on. We want to be partners with our clients. We want to help them find that advantage to actually grow and create a business that they're proud of, but also lets them have the dreams they want for their business and their personal dreams that are connected to that. So it's part of that being a part of something. And that's where I suppose even the name came from originally.
I love it because it's so not what you expect from a lawyer. That whole idea of creativity and law just doesn't seem to mix all that well as a general rule. So how did you is that something that dates back to early days for you, that idea of mixing those two things?
Well, my earliest memory was probably when I was younger than 8. And I had just finished doing all my fashion designs with highlighters because it was the
of course
80s. And I gave it to my grandmother, and she looked at it and said, "No, we need a lawyer in the family." So that is one of my earliest memories. I've got all my families have been generally small business owners, so I've been raised amongst that sort of importance of creating a business to feed your family, to create a life that supports your family and lets you achieve your goals. And so I've always understood, I suppose, the angst, the joy, everything goes with having a small business and feeling connected to that. My mother at one stage ran her own gallery, so it's I've got a father who's quite analytical, who's a doctor, a mother who was a gallery owner and a teacher at different times. So I suppose the families around me have, influenced where I am. And I remember when I went to start my journey after finishing high school, my father said to me, look, he knew I loved business. He knew I was intrigued with business, creating something, being a part of something. And he said to me, look, you don't have to become a lawyer, but it's a good business background. And then I did my law degree and I just loved it. I found the area I could excel in. Some of my personality traits of maybe being a bit argumentative and potentially a bit stubborn worked quite well and analytical. I'm a Trekkie, so I love that logical, analytical sort of situation, as well as creating something and imagining something.
By the way, you're the first person I know that's admitted to being a Trekkie, but I'll back you up there. I'm also very much into that. So, but yes.
Not Star Wars. Make that very clear.
Oh no, I like both. So maybe call me crazy.
I think it's just I said when I first got into law, I'm able to sort of mix my business love, and a bit of creative comes in that because you're working with business owners, and having come from a family of business owners, you understand the background to it and the importance of commerciality. And then when I was practicing law, I worked for some law firms, which gave me a lot of experience and ability to work directly with people. And then later on, I actually was in-house counsel with a few different companies. And I think that gives you a different perspective as well, because you're actually in the client's office.
Yes.
You're seeing things as they happen. You see if they take your advice. And if they take your advice, fantastic, you see where it goes. If they don't take your advice, you're still there. You still got to deal with it. And
yes.
You know exactly what because they can't just hide it around. You're walking around, you see what's happening. So I think all those factors have guided me as I've grown as a business person and a lawyer. And for me, it was a situation of, I suppose, mixing my loves of business and law together, which is where, when I grew my firm and established my firm, it was that idea of focusing on what I did well and what I enjoyed, which was working with business owners, having long-term relationships, and just being a part of something. There's probably also one of the reasons why franchising in particular became one of my specialties, because with that area, a lot of the clients do become long-term clients. I've got a number of franchisee clients where, I mean, I've got two at the moment, for example, who are on their fifth store with me.
Right.
I've done 5 with them over the years. I've got others who are just 1 and others who are 2, 3, 4. And then I've got a number of franchisor clients where they're in Australia or overseas. And then I've got clients who aren't in franchising at all, but it still is that we want to create something. We're proud of it. We want to create it. And just being a part of that is something I just love happening.
I love the story. Now, the influence of family is so huge, right? And I love the fact that you go back to being 8 and having that moment. And it's amazing to me how many incidental conversations, and I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to go back to her and talk about that as being any kind of influence. But I know I have flashes of conversations I had with my grandparents that have long since passed away, that have had such a significant influence. And I often wonder whether those conversations were very just throwaway lines that they didn't think anything more of it, or whether they were aware of planting some seeds that have bared fruit, many years later as well. So it's just amazing what the impact of that is, and I think it's wonderful how you've brought two things together which do traditionally fight with one another, that creativity and the law, but how having that business background and even, from family it's a huge influence, isn't it? Because when you see people in business, and you would have felt that, I imagine, when you were working for other people, that not having that element of control that you have as an entrepreneur, it's hard when you're used to that as an upbringing.
And I was the eldest child in my family, and at one stage I was sort of the eldest in the cousins that were living around us. But I think, as I said, it's interesting when you reflect back, and there are things. My grandparents unfortunately have passed on a number of years now. I do sometimes wonder. My grandmother was quite savvy, and she was a business person herself. So maybe it was trying to plant that seed. Otherwise, maybe my drawings and my designs really were too much for her. But look, I think it's with so many opportunities out in this world, and even more so in today's society than there's ever been. And you can create what you want. It may not be exactly where your dreams are, where you want to go, but you can move towards it. And for me, I suppose that's also guided me as I've grown the business over the last 15 years to sort of stand firm on certain principles, where there's been opportunities to possibly increase my business if I did certain areas, but it wasn't aligned with my values or where I wanted to go. And so I focused on, this is the area I'm good at. This is the area I enjoy. This is where I focus my time. And then the importance of developing relationships with others who are good at what they do, because they spend the time getting not just to understand the technicalities, but the practicalities. And I think that's what's also helped me grow, is that I just don't focus on the technicalities. I focus on technicalities and the practicalities, because if you don't bring both together, you're not going to achieve your goals. And I suppose that's also where the creativity can sometimes come in, because you just can't read something and interpret it straight away. You need to actually reflect of the factors around you and the goals.
Yes.
And it's finding where can you achieve the goals, but also meet certain minimum requirements or minimum standards. And as I said, it's getting also to know those people who are great at what they do, and being able to develop relationships to, one, help support you in your growing journey of your business and personal, but also what you really want is you want your clients to be successful. At the end of the day, you really, really want your clients to be successful. One, particularly because it's good for your business. Reality is, if your clients are good and
Absolutely.
do well, very good for your business. And also because if you're passionate about what your business is, the whole idea is to help others. And so for them being successful, it validates yourself as well as your business. And it's just a rewarding feeling to know that you've actually helped someone achieve their goals or dreams, to be a part of that. And if you're someone who enjoys long-term relationships with people, it's you go along that journey and you become to sometimes provide the advice you need to provide. You need to understand the person. And when you understand the person, you not just understand what their goals are, but often their feelings and the reasonings behind that. So, that's again one of the areas where I focused is I can do that, and it gives me validation in what I do personally, as well as I believe brings an extra light to what I do to help them. But also, again, there's nothing better than seeing your clients succeed, because it's just that feeling of not only have you helped them, but seeing someone's success should encourage you to actually, want to create more success for them and as well as for yourself.
Yes, it's such an important thing, isn't it? We can lose sight of that sometimes as business owners, and you go through the mechanics of things and not actually delivering with purpose, and realizing the joy that brings. There's it was asked of me the other day, or was in a group that was asked the question of what's the biggest win that you've had in business, and I would argue that the biggest win is the most recent win that you've had with a client, no matter how big or small it might be. When I get a client that says they love this that's been done and the reaction has been fantastic, that's as big a win as as someone else winning a major award or whatever it might be. And I think it's important to keep an eye on that. And I love that you're all about relationship building as well, because again, most people, I think, when they think of needing a lawyer, particularly in business, you kind of think, well, there's either something bad that's going on, there's an employee contract, or it's kind of a trademarking and those sort of traditional areas. But what you do goes beyond all of that, doesn't it? And it's establishing those relationships with businesses.
Well, because we want to have long-term relationships, and because our goal really is to create. So what the focus is, getting to understand where you're at to help you go where you want to go. And so the area I've focused on is, okay, well, one, how do we make sure that you understand, okay, these are the potential options? Secondly, what are the steps to achieve those potential options? And then thirdly, how can we protect it so that you are going to achieve the end goal? So it's that situation, I suppose, of those different stages of working through something. So it's not usually, I do get people ring me up, I've got a problem. Can you fix it?
Of
Urgent.
course.
And had a few ones this year, which it was, not the best time for anyone involved. And it's not something that I love doing, to be honest, because I want to help them. I want them to do well. So when they've had a problem and they've had to come to me, it's, well, okay, let's get this done. Let's fix you up so then you can go back to focusing on where we want you to focus, which is the future and achieving goals. So occasionally I'll have those matters where I've got to, for example, get someone out of a contract or negotiate a arrangement or a few things like that. But more often than not, most of my clients are coming to me because they're excited because they're about to purchase a business, excited because they're about to sell a business and go to the next venture, or they're actually getting investors into the business and want to make sure they're protected, get their intellectual property protected, or in particular with the franchising, it's, I've got a business, it's doing well, I want to take it to the next stages. So it's usually sort of, when I'm getting called in, it's more to, what opportunities are out there, Simone? Or am I protected to be able to achieve the goals? Or how do I even go about achieving this goal? So I've sort of taken the firm more in that direction of looking at how can we create opportunities, or how can we grab or protect the opportunities, rather than being someone who's come because there's a big problem that's come up. We still deal with the problems, but generally our goal is to take steps so we don't have those problems. Or if they do happen, we're able to resolve them pretty quick. And again, that's why I suppose that when I've grown the business, I've sort of said, okay, this area of law, we're not touching. This area of law, these are the experts. I'll develop really good relationships with you so that I know you're the expert in it. You do it on a daily basis. You do it more effectively and efficiently. You're commercial, so I know you'll work well with me. You'll work well with my clients, and I'll get you to do what you specialize in, and I'll do what I specialize in.
I'm intrigued as well in that when do people, well, I suppose there's a difference between when do people seek you out initially versus when would you like them to seek you out? Because I think that, and it's sort of a twist on a question that I ask a lot of business owners, is there an aha moment that businesses have in working with you that you wish other business owners knew in advance so that they didn't have to wait that long for that aha moment? And it's kind of that, because I imagine that the first instinct to use you is either a problem or something that's traditional. So when is the ideal engagement?
Well, I think look, it depends on what area we're talking about as well. But generally, it's when you want to take the next step or when you're just about to take the next step. For me, your foundations. My best clients and the ones that we have the most success with are the ones who realize foundations are important and we want a solid foundation. So the earlier I get involved is usually the best outcome, because in that situation, there's been some times where a client was going to go in a direction where I would have if they come back to me when they started going through the process, they would have had to take steps back and lost a bit of money, because when they came to me, they realized that wasn't the way they should be going. Either it wasn't the most effective way or it was definitely not the way they can go. So for me, I suppose it's because my clients are generally business owners or people about to set up or buy a business. It's usually as soon as you get the inclination you want to either buy a business, or as soon as the inclination you want to take your business to the next level, even if you're not sure what's available or opportunities out there. We often have done strategy sessions where we've just focused on saying, okay, what is your goals now, 5 years and 10 years? Okay, let's now look at where you're going and let's try and work out a bit of a strategy plan. And you don't have to take those steps, but you've now got, these are my options and these are the initial steps if I want to go that way. And these are the risks if I don't do that. So for me, it's as early as possible when you're sort of taking the step of creating a business or wanting to take your business to the next level. Because again, that's when you've got the best opportunity to actually understand their goals and start creating a path that will help them achieve that more effectively and efficiently. Because I said, it's always better better now than later. I actually today had to update with my Marketing Girl newsletter. And it was interesting. That was one of the things we were commenting in our marketing for next month was, the best time is always now. The earlier you do it is always the better. But, taking a foundation approach, even if you just do a small step towards it so you have a general understanding of things, it can save you so much money and pain later on. And sometimes when I've been dealing with areas, we've helped the client either overcome an issue or do what they were going to do. But because they delayed the process, it meant that there was probably more angst and more cost than if we'd actually started the foundation strong from the word go.
There's a great model for that, which really just talks about drift and how easy it is in so many aspects of business that the longer you wait to take advantage of an opportunity, the further you drift away from where you could have been at the same point in time. And I think at a time when so many people are, I guess, anxious or not willing to make decisions at the moment, that's an easy trap to fall into. And I definitely, heed that advice. And I think it applies to not just, your business, but it applies to so many businesses as well, that you've really got to question sometimes why people are hesitating. And I think it's when you've got an idea in your head that there may be some possibilities for something, it's such a good time to start engaging and talking about it at that point, because at least you can get some clarity from the beginning and working towards something.
Look, it doesn't have to be a big investment of your time or money. It can be just literally, let's just set aside an hour to look at work out where we are, where we could potentially go. And then, if you start taking little steps towards achieving it, you'll get that wheel moving faster and faster the more you do. But except for some clients, we've had literally done a strategy session where we just looked at things, and then sometimes I've taken steps straight away. Other times, 1 year, 2 years down the track, I get the phone call. You remember that conversation we did, or that session we did, that period of time? Guess what? I'm raring to go now. So it doesn't mean you have to move things, and it's hard when I think this is one of the things I can also reflect on from being both raised by small business owners, but also having my own business. Is, the realities of business, particularly small businesses in Australia. Australia, I think we're a very entrepreneurial country. We love business, but there's very different types and levels of business. And there's nothing wrong with, wanting a business that's smaller or wanting a business that's bigger. What's important is what you're needing, what you're wanting for your goals. And others, criteria isn't really essential for you. It's what are your needs? What is your criteria? Are you meeting that? And it's also sometimes just what are the opportunities out there? And if you don't want to take them, fine. But, don't just ignore the opportunities or be unaware of what's out there. Because I had this discussion with another business owner a while ago where I said to them, look, you don't have to be she was happy being a small business. And I said, that's fine. But, be aware of what's out there, because you could be creating extra income without doing any additional work. You could be creating extra income streams or just creating more efficiencies. And so that's where it's just be aware out there, because you don't have to change what you do, but if there are opportunities for you to grow that are things that are aligned with your needs, don't throw away at least the opportunity to be aware of what's out there. I suppose that's for me, even, as a business owner, I've gone through a journey as a lawyer and as a business owner, particularly after COVID and during COVID. It made us, I think, reflect on a lot of factors. And as you've grown, you've experienced so much more things. You understand the grey areas that sometimes come into our lives. And I think that's made me both a better lawyer as well as a better business person, and probably just a better person, having that growth of factors I've learnt over the years.
I think we could talk for a lot longer about all of this stuff, but I know we both have to wrap things up here. I wanted to say what was really interesting to me in all of this as well, that you started by talking about being a creator and as a lawyer. And I think whether it's consciously or subconsciously, it's brought into every aspect of what you talk about. And I really love that, because it really does separate your business and the story behind your business and what you're trying to do with other businesses from, I guess, other law firms that I've encountered in the past. So kudos to that. And thank you for being a part of BizBytes. And we look forward to having, I guess, hopefully you as a guest again in the future, but also to the many more listeners, I should say, and episodes that we've got coming up in the future.
Well, thank you, Anthony, for inviting me. And I definitely look forward to our further conversations.
BizBytes is brought to you by Together for all your marketing needs, so you can build your brand, engage audiences on multiple platforms. Go to comtogether.com.au, follow the links to book an appointment for a free consultation.